Whenever I think of Steve Andrien, I think the first word that comes to my mind is toughness. And Steve was a couple years behind me at BC. And he came in as a running back from Cardinal O'Hara. And I remember the first time I saw him run the ball, it was yesterday. And I thought to myself, uh-oh, he's a load. If you're gonna bring him down, you better get low and you better pack a lunch. He had some size, he had some speed, he had some toughness. And the more I watched him play, the more I thought there's gonna be a home for him at Boston College. And I don't know whether it's gonna be a running back, linebacker, defensive end, safety, but this kid has too many great traits to not play for Boston College. And again, primary among them was toughness.
The first time I saw Steve Andrien, I thought he looked like Tarzan. And then I saw him play, and I saw that he played like King Kong. It was unbelievable. Steve had an unbelievable work ethic. His discipline and desire to win was unmatched. He was one of the toughest backs ever to play in the Philadelphia area. The man was a first down machine. He averaged 9.75 yards a carry his senior year. One time I saw him break through the line, and he looked like a buffalo thundering towards the end zone with his head down and his broad shoulders and legs churning. The opposing team were flying off him left and right like flies. I told the guys when I was coming to the sideline, damn, he runs like a buffalo. And Steve Buffalo Andrien was born.
Several years ago, Coach Tom Coughlin of the then Super Bowl winning Giants was asked who was the most mentally tough player he'd ever coached. His answer, Steve Andrien. Lawrence Taylor, Jimmy Smith, Keenan McCardle, there were a few other guys on that list, but Steve was at the top.
He's a giver. I look at people in life, either a giver or you're a taker. And Steve is a giver. He gives life value. He gives the gift of friendship, the gift of love. He's just a great, great guy. And you know what? He'll even give you a bunch of crap if you let him.
Steve was born with special and unique gifts. He was one of the biggest kids on the team. He was one of the fastest kids on the team. And he had the great smile.
You know, a lot of people know Steve as a big guy, great athlete, but Steve had, and still does, he just had a big heart. Proud to be his friend, and he didn't have, nothing mean-spirited about him, positive attitude.
When you meet him, you'll know that he's a sweetheart of a guy. I mean, there's nobody, and I say sweetheart because he's just that. Yeah, on the field, he's a badass. Off the field, wonderful guy.
My coach told me, John, you need to change your stance a little bit to outside. You got to play back a little bit because this guy, Steve Andrien, if he gets outside, he's gone. There's certain guys you never forget. And big, handsome number 32, that big guy that I had to tackle, and just was a tough competitor. I'll never forget him.
Mainly what I remember, and Steve still to this day as we were reacquainted, is so understated, but he produced a lot. And from the time that I saw him in grade school, run to those dummies and run over people, it didn't matter if they were upperclassmen or his same grade, it didn't matter. And Steve would help that person up. That's the kind of guy that Steve was. And hearing the stories of guys today that are out in college with him, it seems like it didn't change.
We go on a couple of years, and of course, Steve gets hit with his first medical setback, which was the cancer.
football at that time had to become secondary to Steve, but you would never know it. As an immediate roommate, Steve was, and still is, one of the toughest people I've ever met. Through all the treatment he was going through, he never asked for anyone's help. He never wanted any pity from any of the players. He made as much of the team activities as he physically could, and was a true inspiration to all of us. And not only as football players, but as people.
Steve's sophomore year that we heard the news, and of course he downplays everything like he's got a cold. So he went through a lot of the treatments by himself. Coaches were there for him, roommates were there for him, but he's like always pushed back and said, no, I got this.
He lost a lot of weight, and then when he was cleared, he worked his tail off to try to put as much weight back on. And he didn't want anyone to feel like, he was different, and he wasn't.
Of course, the BC Brotherhood, BC Football Brotherhood, 100% has his back, and they don't even know. A lot of the guys don't know what he's going through now.
I graduated, moved on, have seen him over the years a few times, and again, what keeps coming back to me, every time I see Steve, and he's had a lot of medical issues throughout his life, but he never talks about them, he never complains about them, he's got a joy of life, he loves his family, he loves his friends.
His wife, Cindy, who's, again, for the last 30 years has been a rock through this. Total rock. That's special.
And to this day, we're lucky at Boston College. We still get together as teammates many years later, and Steve's right in there.
And again, I kind of take a step back and say, why? And I go back to toughness, perseverance, all these qualities that you want in a person, the ability to deal with adversity in your life. We talk about that in football all the time. How do you deal with adversity? Well, our guys have had nothing to deal with compared to Steve Andrien.
I couldn't be more proud of Steve. He fought Hodgkin's disease and had to sit out for a year, and never ever had anything but a positive attitude. And when he came back, it was just unbelievable to watch him back on the football field again and be part of the team. And we went to our first bowl in 40 years, and Steve was a big part of it. And at first, to watch him get back on the field and then get his degree. Life's not easy. We all have challenges, personally, professionally, health-wise, and how you handle adversity is really important. And I love Steve Andrien. I'm so proud to say that I recruited him. I'm so proud to watch his life. And Steve, I love you.
Steve, I'm sitting here the day before we play some team that's, I guess they're pretty good, the Kansas City Chiefs. But all I'm thinking about is you. I was asked by a reporter from the New York Post, who are the mentally toughest players you've ever had the wonderful experience of being around and coaching? The first name was Steve Andrien. I'll never forget when you made your comeback. I can still see it. I'm on the field watching you as we're doing a conditioning or a pre-calisthenic drill, and we're just running across the field over and back, and you're wobbling, and and I'm wondering, oh my God, I hope he's okay, I hope he can make it. And you got this big smile on your face, and the big smile on your face is because you're back, and you're playing again, and you're playing the game you love with the teammates and the friends that you love. So on this day, with all your buddies around you, I want to tell you once again, you are one of the most mentally tough players I've ever been around. God bless you. I love you.
In a team full of Division I players, Steve was the best. He made us all better, because we tried to achieve the same level of toughness and discipline and determination that he had. Buff has been humble and hardworking all of his life, and a no-quit attitude with every battle that he's faced. And never once has he ever said, "Why me?" I am honored to call him my brother and a dear friend.
He's an open book. What you see is what you get with Steve. Genuine. He always has your back. He's just a guy you want to be around. It's just that there's people that you don't care to be around. This guy is just, you want his energy.
He was not going to quit. This thing was not going to get him. He was courageous about it. He had a unique way of filtering his energy towards defeating this. And his main goal was, by the time he graduated from Boston College, he wanted to be back on the field. I followed his career, and I heard at the end he did eventually play. And that was a moment in time for us as individuals to witness courage, witness his tenacity and his determination. And Steve set an example for all of us. And for that, I hope he just keeps on smiling.
My contribution is to just get Steve the accolades and the testaments and the rewards that he deserves, because he would never let us do this if we asked him.
As you've heard today from friends, competitors, and teammates of Steve Andrien, he is a special man. He's been dealt a tough hand, but has played it like a fistful of aces. The older you get, you start to look back and wonder, have I made an impact? Did I make a difference in this life? And the answer to that question for Steve Andrien is a resounding yes.
Steve, all I know is my admiration and respect for you is boundless.